I've learned something about calling. It's not always loud, it's not always recognized, it's not always celebrated. Sometimes calling walks right past people and they still don't see it. Jesus knew that feeling. He walked into rooms carrying salvation and they only saw the carpenter's son. He carried eternity in his breath and they only heard a familiar voice. He carried the kingdom in his hands and they only saw calloused skin. Familiarity blinds the unprepared, and I've learned and lived that. I've stood in grace so heavy it could bend the atmosphere and still been treated like the girl they remember, the one who fell, the one who stumbled, the one who didn't know yet. But Jesus walked with perfection, not the kind that never struggled, but the kind that never stepped outside his Father's will. His actions were perfect, his pauses were perfect, his peace was perfect. His sacrifice was perfect. He endured not for himself, but for us. And I think about that when I stand in my own assignment, when I feel unseen, when I feel misunderstood, when I feel like the weight I carry is invisible to the ones who benefit from it. Jesus chose disciples, young men barely grown, barely formed, barely ready, and he poured into them anyway. He didn't choose the elders. He didn't choose the scholars. He didn't choose the ones with status. He chose the ones who would follow. Learn, endure, stand, carry, continue. And they did. They left everything. They walked away from comfort. They walked away into calling, into responsibility, into purpose. And I think about that too. I inherited the will to endure, not to suffer, not to break, not to carry what isn't mine, but to stand, to discern, to love with wisdom, to walk in calling, even when no one recognizes it. Jesus endured being unseen. Jesus endured being underestimated. Jesus endured being misunderstood. Jesus endured being rejected by the familiar. And still, he stayed aligned. He stayed obedient. He stayed surrendered. He stayed focused. He stayed in his Father's will. He didn't need applause. He didn't need validation. He didn't need recognition. He needed purpose. And so do I. So if they never see me, if they never understand me, if they never recognize the grace I carry, if they never acknowledge the assignment on my life, I will still stand, I will still endure, I will still love, I will still obey, I will still walk in the will of the one who sent me. Because Jesus didn't endure for himself, he endured for the ones who couldn't see him. And sometimes that's the calling, to walk in grace that won't be recognized until after it has already changed the atmosphere, to carry a strength that won't be understood until after it has already broken a cycle, to stand in an assignment that won't be honored until after it has already shifted a generation. I am not unseen. I am simply ahead. And like Jesus, I will endure. Perfectly? No. But faithfully, willingly, obediently, strategically aligned, because the will to endure is the inheritance of my bloodline, the posture of my calling, and the echo of the Savior who walked unseen so I could walk in purpose.